Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want this to take place. I don't want people to lose money, but I'm going to give you my viewpoint. In October of 2021, I did write in the Federalist and predict everything. Read the article below in the pinned comment. I talked about the market, the stock market, completely collapsing and crashing. And I said this would happen because of policies, specifically from the Democratic Party, that helped create these bubbles. You can't pump $10 trillion into the economy to duplicate economic activity after you pushed to end economic activity. And you just can't do those things. $10 trillion in fiscal and monetary stimulus. End economic activity. There's other ways to talk about it, but we'll just say end economic activity. And then like a light switch, turn everything back on. You're going to have runaway inflation, which is what we're seeing, labor shortages, supply chain breakdown, all of the problems we're seeing globally. And now we have contracting GDP, so that opened up a Pandora's box of problems. I talk about that in the Federalist article that was published in October of 2021. I have a stock market crash channel below in the pinned comment. And I have a playlist where in the past 6-7 months, you can see I've been talking about all of this long before a lot of people, especially in politics. So long before a lot of people in the financial realm on YouTube, but long before people in politics even started talking about this, I said the sky was going to fall, and here's why, in terms of the economy and the stock market and Bitcoin. I talked about Bitcoin crashing to 10,000 about 5, 6, 7 months ago. So you can look at the playlist. Again, I don't want that to happen, but Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are tied directly to the willingness to speculate within the stock market. If we're heading into a very pessimistic bear market, so we're heading into a recession. The GDP contracted 1.14% last quarter. Two quarters of negative growth is a full-fledged recession. We have inflation that just, they say went down. I don't believe it, because if you look at food and energy and rent and everything that we need to survive or that you pay for every month, that either went up or leveled off or, dwindled a little bit in terms of inflation, but that most of those things went up. So hit subscribe, by the way, to this channel. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. When I talk about Coinbase, and again, you might know a lot more about Bitcoin, Coinbase, Ethereum, all of these, the GYEN stablecoin that Coinbase is getting sued over. You might know a lot more about all of this than I do. The difference, however, is that I might be older than you if you're watching, or I might be the same age, but we've seen the stock market crash. I saw the stock market crash with my own eyes. I should say the dot-com bubble. This is 10 times worse. 10 times more volatile than the dot-com bubble. There's a lot of reasons for that, unfortunately. We didn't have runaway inflation, by the way, in 2000. We didn't have contracting GDP growth. The economy was pretty good generally. We didn't have a national debt that surpassed GDP. We didn't have record highs in credit card debt and household debt and global debt. $5 trillion in hedge funds globally also. We didn't have hundreds of billions of dollars in margin debt, both in the stock market. The U.S. stock market is almost $1 trillion still. And we didn't have the hundreds of billions in hedge fund debt with derivatives contracts. But here, Coinbase customers sue over stablecoin that's anything but. So in the segment prior to this one, I give you about 5 or 6 reasons why Coinbase won't be around anymore, probably in the next year and a half, 2 years, or 3 years. It's going to go bankrupt eventually. I don't want that to happen. I don't want people to lose their job. I don't want people to lose their crypto. I don't want any of that stuff to take place. I respect people who invest in digital currencies and cryptocurrencies. I respect people who invest in Bitcoin, and I appreciate and admire some of the philosophy. But unfortunately, this is a gigantic bubble, and the bubble was inflated by one political party in particular, the Democratic Party. President Mashed Potato Brains hasn't done anything, by the way, to help the economy. It's only gotten worse. Okay, we have shortages of formula, and it's like they can never look in the mirror and see actually, oh, well, the shortages are because of this, that. No. They wanted to decarbonize the economy immediately after ending all economic activity. It's probably the worst thing you could have ever done. And then you pump $10 trillion, you've displaced 22 million people in terms of where these people used to work. You displaced them. And now we have a shortage of truck drivers still, and people at docks. But anyway, and other key industries. And supply and demand projections in terms of the oil and gas industry. Oil and gas is up, and it's going to continue. Energy is going to continue to be more expensive and increase in price. We have a geopolitical nightmare that people apparently, the Democratic Party in particular, is just fine with letting fester and go on forever. You might want to negotiate some kind of deal, some kind of peace settlement or truce, or some kind of solution that you can negotiate if you're the United States of America instead of... That's another story. But here, Coinbase customers sue over stablecoin that's anything but. Hundreds of GYEN purchasers allegedly lost untold millions. Crypto exchange faces skepticism amid worsening bear market. This is Bloomberg. Now, in my segment prior to this one, I talked about the fact that Coinbase has stated to the world that if it goes bankrupt, they're likely not going to give everyone back their money in terms of crypto. Then we talked about hackers. Then we talked about the IRS going and looking at people and Coinbase giving the IRS information on customers to the tune of like 10,000 compliance letters. Okay, resulting in 10,000 compliance letters. And then there's 11,000 complaints against Coinbase with the Federal Trade Commission and Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. You can say, well, you haven't looked at the financials, you don't know what you're talking about, and Bitcoin is the wave of the future, and, well, Bitcoin's going to descend to $10,000 or below. If you didn't hear that before, you've heard it here first. Unfortunately, I don't say this with glee. I don't have, like, a philosophical problem with Bitcoin like Charlie Munger does, for example. There are others that do. I don't have it. If anything, the mindset is admirable, or I appreciate a lot of the idealism. But if you're getting sued because your stablecoin has led to untold millions of dollars in losses, and then you see what's taking place with Terra Luna, where it went from what 120 something to zero. I mean, people unfortunately are getting completely wiped out from all of this. Unfortunately, and I've seen it and I understand. Look, I saw it with my own eyes 20 years ago, and this is a far greater bubble because we didn't end economic activity 20 years ago. It was just a matter of, it was the actual fundamentals of the economy were pretty good. We didn't have 8 to 9% inflation. We didn't have negative GDP growth. We didn't have supply chain problems and debt problems and hedge fund derivatives issues like Archegos. These hedge funds are going to get margin calls. And when the stock market continues to descend, I mean, you're looking at the Dow Jones getting below 25,000, closer to 20,000. The NASDAQ will plummet thousands of points more. The S&P is nowhere near its bottom. And so here, this is Bloomberg. Buyers lost millions of dollars in a matter of hours after the GYEN lost its peg to the Japanese yen. I mean, that's what happened with Terra losing its peg, and it's like, there's a, I don't want to say this disrespectfully, there's a racket here, a scheme where investors are getting duped. And it's good that this is unregulated, but at the same time, it's going to be regulated a lot more. The whole point, or one of the marketing or selling points to Bitcoin, is that it's unregulated generally. But you're going to see a lot more regulation. The crypto exchange has struggled this week after weak earnings sent its stock plunging. This is probably one of the worst stocks to invest in. No offense to people who've invested in it. But Coinbase is probably one of the worst companies to invest in at this moment in time because Bitcoin is only going to go down a lot further. The market is going to go down a lot further. They allege that Coinbase and stablecoin issuer GMO-Z Trust described the GYEN as pegged 1-to-1 in value to the Japanese yen, even when they knew the peg was prone to break. This information was withheld from investors, they claim in their filing. I mean, this is just one of many lawsuits Coinbase is facing. Even if they say they have the $6 billion in cash and equivalents, they have $3 billion in debt, but you can't, if something like 30% of the cash and cash equivalents is cryptocurrencies, and all that cryptocurrency becomes worthless, or loses 80% of its value, and you're facing lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, and the IRS and the SEC is going after you eventually for a lot of things, or going to battle with you for things in the past. This is bad. So I mean, the links will be below. I'm not making anything up. And it's not like, here's my vantage point. I know that my viewers don't really enjoy this, but if you know somebody who has invested in Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, tell them about this. Share this segment. My vantage point is that it's only going to get worse, unfortunately. And, I don't think we're anywhere near the bottom. We're anywhere near the worst that could take place with these investments. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Excuse me, I say this, I say this with only love and respect and admiration, and I don't want anyone to lose their money. But unfortunately, it's going to get infinitely worse. Give me your thought, or a lot worse. Give me your thoughts below. Thank you. Oh, and be here, I would say, in about 5 or 6 hours for an update on the Durham Probe special count.